Ladies and gentlemen, in the Philippines, they sell lumber, but they don't sell pressure treated lumber. They don't know what pressure treated lumber is. They don't have pressure treated plywood or lumber. CCA lumber, that's what it was called in America. So the lumber that they sell you is susceptible to termites, which is all the lumber that they sell you. In addition to that, the plywood that they make here in the Philippines, they use a glue in the plywood that termites can consume, kind of like a snack. Now, they won't tell you that, but I have wood on my property that's from the 1980s, the 1990s, and the year 2000 plywood. Different plywoods from different places. Some of the plywood was from New York City. I'll show that to you in a few minutes. The other plywood is on my workbench in the back. That's from New York City as well. Then I have plywood from Florida. I have composition board from Florida. That's not susceptible to termites. Those pressure treated plywood from New York City is not susceptible to termites. I've had it stored with the termite, other wood from the termite. That's right. It's like a pastry. The glue in the plywood they sell here in the Philippines is like a pastry, as Flying Circus pointed out, to a termite. I am not kidding about this. The literally the glue that's in the plywood that they sell here in the Philippines is consumable by termites, but the glue they have in the plywood in America is not edible. And I will show you those two pieces of plywood when I get through. I have to clear out that pile. It shouldn't take but about 10 minutes. So the damage from termites in the Philippines is in the maybe hundreds of billions of pesos every year, which ensures their lumber industry is continuously replacing lumber that was damaged by termites. And now I'll go get a piece of material that is termite damaged, and I'll show you what they've done in only 3 years. 3 years. Okay, so first I will show you a piece of lumber that they sell here, standard lumber, called Himalaya lumber in the Philippines. This wood was viable working lumber 3 years ago, and I painted it. And then after we got locked down, it laid in a pile for 3 years. And this is what's left of it. Now, in the lumber, there are various forms of bugs and termites. There is a couple of different types of boring beetles and a couple of different types of termites. I don't know the terms for all of them, but they turn a piece of 2x4 lumber into dust, where it has no weight at all to it. And you can see it just makes a bunch of termite dust. And that's what termite dust looks like. And that's also what the boring beetles are. They're a beautiful beetle. They're blue and purple and green. They're actually quite pretty. It almost looks like a ladybug. It's about the same size as a ladybug, but it's black and purple and red. Now, for all I know, I have not seen a ladybug inside the wood, but ladybugs are outside, like on trees and branches and things like that. So this is the black boring beetles, but also in here is a kind of ant. Very small ants, less than 1/4 of an inch in diameter. And these ants, they do bite. These little ants are biting ants. But right now my job is to just clean up that little pile and bring it over to my landlord's house for a fiesta that's going to happen in a few weeks. So, oh, and here is the plywood from the Philippines. This plywood, as you can see, is eaten, and there's no glue. Here, where my finger is, there's no glue. They ate the glue. They'll eat the wood, but in the case of the Philippines plywood, they eat the glue first. Like I said, it's like a delicacy to them. Now, the plywood that I have from America, they won't even touch that plywood or the glue. They won't touch the plywood or the glue. They won't even go in the plywood. They don't bother it. You can put it, I could put the plywood from America on this side of the Philippines plywood and then put another piece on top of that, and they don't even touch it. It's almost as if it's protected. I don't know what it is. They won't eat it. So I have plywood from America that I'm going to be using. That's 20 years old. Mick Fisher, thank you very much for stopping by, Mick Fisher. I always like to see your face in the chat. And tack for alt. Boy, oh boy, did I get in trouble for saying hello to you last week. Oh my God. I know that Bosio is still friends with, and then he said your name, even though we haven't talked in years. Oh God, did you brought the wrath of the little blogger down on me. God, and it's good to see your face in the chat. Thanks for stopping by, my friend. This is one of my oldest friends on YouTube, Tack for Alt. Very nice man, very hardworking, honest, educated man that is totally hated by another blogger. I don't know why. Johnny Adriel, good morning, young Foz. Chinese reject plywood, yes. It's, hey, Johnny Adriel is a very old subscriber as well. Thank you for stopping by. Talk for alt. I made a raised garden bed out of wood. Lasted 2 years in Phuket. I think that's Thailand. That's where the last time I spoke with you, you were living in Thailand. Thanks for sharing that. 2 years. Asia has some very powerful bugs. Those termites are trained. They don't like getting indigestion. Quadro tigers. Let me go get, I'm going to walk through that pile of refuge and I'm going to show you a piece of pressure-treated plywood. So this is the Chinese plywood that just falls apart by hand. And I'm going to get you a piece of CCA treated plywood. I have one right in the back. I was using it for a table. Now this piece of plywood is from a job I did. I know for a fact it was the 1980s late 80s or early 1990s. I know that for a fact because it came from a fella named George's house, George. And George was friends with Andy Warhol. And I met Andy Warhol at George's house. So this plywood, indirectly, was on the job of George when Andy Warhol and George were partying in George's house. So that had to be 89, 90, 91, 92, like that. And that's a true story. I met Andy Warhol in George's house. They grew up as friends. So when I knew George, when I raised his house with this plywood and copper chloride and arsenic plywood, wood, 2-pound treated lumber, Andy Warhol was literally in the house while I was raising the house. And George was in his 60s, as was Andy Warhol. So this is 1990. So I would imagine if George is alive, he's in his 90s. So this wood is from, let's just say it's from 1990. So it's 33 years old, or 30 years old. And this wood has been laying next to the wood from the Philippines, and the termites didn't touch it at all. The man who coined the phrase, get your 15 minutes of fame, Andy Warhol, well, I didn't know that. But that I do remember the statement. So everybody gets 15 minutes of fame or glory. Thank you for teaching us who said those words, because I've known the words. So let me tell you a story about George and Andy Warhol. Okay, George and Andy Warhol grew up in New York City as friends, or in the boroughs as friends. They were friends since the age of about 5 or 6 years old. That's how long they grew up. So George and Andy Warhol were party animals in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s still. And to tell you how much of a party animal they were, George and Andy ordered Vanessa Del Rey to come to the house. I think it was Vanessa Del Rey. It was one of those stars, the 1980s stars, to come to the house, and she was dropped off in a limousine. While I was under the house, raising the house, George and Andy Warhol were having lunch and dinner with a very, very famous movie actress, the Vanessa Del Rio. Okay, that's who they were having lunch, lunch, and dinner with Vanessa Del Rio. If that's the one, I remember there was a very famous actress, and I was under the house, putting the house, raising the house on jacks. I had 32 screw jacks under the house, and we were raising the house. We raised the house up 6 feet because there was a flood, and the flood went in the house. So he paid me not a lot of money in today's money, but he paid me in let's say $90. He paid all cash, all $1 and $5 bills. We're talking $90,000 in 1s and 5s, in paper bags, in $1990. So I don't know what George did, and I never asked where they got their money from, but the biggest laugh I ever got in my life when I handed somebody money was when I brought $20,000 to the lumberyard in a paper bag, and we had to count it out in singles and fives. And that's what it was like living back in the 1980s and 90s. You could do that kind of thing. So, thank you for pointing out her real name. Quarito Tigra. Salamat. Thank you from the Philippines. So what I got to do now is, now everything I said is true, by the way, but I can prove to you that I raised houses because I have many pictures. Back then we didn't have video cameras, so this was before my first video camera in the late 90s. I do have video from the 80s, but that was a camera that I borrowed from Royal Videos. Royal Videos was a franchise in New York City. I worked for the owner of Royal Videos, Louis, and I worked for Neil, a Jewish fella that used to be a police officer. He had a Royal Video on Cross Bay Boulevard, and I worked for Louis. They call him the King, the Video King. He lived on 66th Street in Bergen Basin. Louis was collecting close to $200,000 or $300,000 a week, sometimes $100,000 a day, from 60 Royal Videos that he had all over the 5 boroughs. He just kept opening them up and opening them up. And on Friday night, Neil and another fella I worked for, they would go to Louis' house in Bergen Basin, and there would be literally, there'd be hundreds of thousands of dollars. To rent a video was $1 for 3 days, and Louis was and then the video store owner owned 49%. They collected 49%, and Louis kept 51%. And the name of the company was Royal Videos, and I think they had 60 stores, but there was a few under a different name. And I worked for all of those people. I built decks for Louis. I built decks for Neil. There was another Jewish partner, I forgot his name. I built his deck. I built all the decks for all the people that own Royal Videos, pretty much in Queens and Brooklyn. So with that, I'm going to get to thank you for... Yes. We walked around with a minimum of $2,000 in our pockets. I remember just walking around with a nut. They used to call it a nut. Vanessa Del Rio retired from the adult films in 1986. Well, it could have been a different woman. I remember it was a star. Could have been her as well. Wait a second. Yeah, I had a barge. Because the barge was parked behind the house. So I bought my barge in 1988. So the earliest it could have been is 1988. Now, maybe she retired and they took her out of retirement for the day. But back then, most of the video rental places were in storefronts that had a basement. And the basements all had dressed out like discotheques in the basement of all the Royal Videos and all of the other video stores, all the video stores that I knew the people that owned. So it could have been, hello Philip, thank you for stopping by. It could have been another lady, like I said from the beginning, but it was a superstar from the adult industry that they brought. Got to remember, it's going back 34 years, and it wasn't me that ordered the woman. But I do remember they took her upstairs and had lunch and dinner with that lady. Yeah, she may have retired in 1986, but you got to remember these people were friends. George, for George and Andy Warhol to get one of those women to the house, they would have to have known her for years beforehand. So I was honest from the beginning. I think that was her name, and I still think that's who it was, because I know for a fact she came to a video store on Jamaica Avenue that another friend of mine owned. So I'm going to go in the house and get some water. It's now 110 hours since I had any food at all. So I'll be back in about 2 minutes. I have to make something called snake juice. It's baking soda and salt so that I don't get weak. And I'm going to have a half a bottle of water. I'll be back in about 60 to 90 seconds. I have all the stuff on my counter. I made a mistake. It's not 110 hours. It's 101 hours since I had solid food. 101 hours, not 110. Okay, so I'll check the comments, and then I'm going to put on a pair of gloves, and I'm going to clean up that little mess I made from yesterday. That's all termite-ridden lumber. 101 hours. I'm at the pub now with 4.5 stacks. God bless. Autophagy will be oh yeah, you know what, actually I think what you say is going to happened this morning, because this morning I woke up. I wasn't tired, I wasn't weak. I'm not weak now, and I'm a little bit tired, but I've been up since I didn't get up until 7 o'clock. I had a Philly beef. That doesn't even interest me, food. I did not want to eat this morning at all. I had no urge for food. Last night, I wanted to eat. When I got done working, habit, not habit, I was hungry. What I did was, believe it or not, I had a half a tablespoon of baking soda and a quarter of a tablespoon of salt. And I mixed it in with just regular water. And I'm going to tell you something. That tasted horrible. That was, well, God, it's something they call snake juice, where you have baking soda and salt, and then you're supposed to mix something else in with it. I don't have the third thing. I have to go to the city next week, because after 8 days, you're supposed to mix in some kind of nutrients or alkalines or something else. I don't know. I went 10 days twice with just water. So last night I had my fill. I had a quarter of a tablespoon of baking soda and a quarter of a tablespoon of salt. And when I was done with that, I was good, man. I was good to go. So it's now 101 hours. I don't know what you'd call it, Philip. It could be, but I'll tell you another thing. If you do that, you should be near a restroom when you do that. You have about 90 seconds to get to a restroom. You don't have much more than that. Okay, so let me get this stuff out of here, stacked up, ready to go next door. I'll be leaving the comments for a while, at least until I get this little area cleaned up here. Yo. All right, I'm gonna pretty much end the live stream now. Well, what I have to do now is just, I'm gonna walk this stuff over to my landlord's house and just put it next to where they're gonna roast the pig. I have my hydration Quadrico. Wait, what is his name? Quarito Tiger. This is my third bottle, 700 milliliters, since 7 o'clock this morning, plus 2 cups of coffee. Yesterday I drank 1.5 gallons, and the same thing the day before that. So hydrating, I forget, but most people remind me. I don't have any calamansi, but I was thinking about buying that. Okay, Philip, thank you. A friend from high school. That's another thing when you move to the Philippines that you can forget about. Your childhood friends that you could hang out with and trust. That's never going to happen again in the Philippines. All of those people live in another country. All right, so I'm halfway through with this. I'll be done. So now it's about 101 hours with no food, zero food. I'm okay. I'm not weak. I'm not dizzy. I sat down because bending over could get dizzy, but I sat down to do that work. But I didn't get dizzy, bending over, sitting down. So I don't want to exert too much because your body can just take so much energy from the stored fat while you're fasting. So I'm moving at a slower pace, but I'll tell you this, since I started, I went to where my pants were tight to where I have to tuck my shirt into my pants now to keep them from falling down. So if I don't tuck my shirt in my pants right now, they'll have a tendency to fall down. So what I need to do tomorrow is I have a button. I'm going to take one button off, and I have another button. I'm going to put 2 more buttons on the pants. So I also lost 2.5 inches off my waist in 4 days. So that's, but that's all water. So I don't expect to keep that off. That's all water. Everybody, I wouldn't say that's weight, but 4 days. I guess I'm going to start to burn fat now. I'm going to go 10 days if I can. I want to go 10 days. I'm seriously thinking of going 10 days. Okay, I'll get with you later on that idea for a live stream. Thanks for sharing. I have a lot of ideas for live streams. Most of them, no, the hernia won't be completely healed. The hernia operation took place on May 3rd. I went into the hospital May 2nd. The doctor said they don't want me lifting anything that weighs more than 10 pounds for 6 months. But when I went into the hospital, I told him I was lifting 20-pound stuff. He goes, well, you can't go swimming. I haven't been in. I did a little doggy paddling, that's all. And you can't lift anything heavy, like your old normal weightlifting days, or, your old normal work schedule. So he said 6 months. Big Kevin, I'm not mad at you per se, but I'm mad. Well, I am a little bit mad at you. You let people say whatever they want to say about me and Daisy. But when I talk about somebody who's funding your lifestyle, you let somebody else take my comments off your page. How is that fair? How is that fair? So I'm probably gonna not go back to your channel so that doesn't happen again, and I'm probably gonna block you because you can do whatever you want on your channel. That's okay. Like you say, it's all YouTube comedy. But when I went against somebody that's funding your lifestyle and the other man's lifestyle, well, that was no good, right? So I would appreciate it if you just disappeared before I make you disappear. You allowed that to happen. You should have took away his wrench and then let my comments stay on the page. But you want to have it your way, and you want to come on other people's channels and have your presence known. But see, you want it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Yeah, well, I got my comments removed and I got blocked. Yes, Demson, that's true. So I didn't appreciate getting blocked, and I didn't appreciate my comments getting removed, and what you told them, you didn't back it up. See, that's your problem. You want to have it both ways. But our discussion about that is over. I'll go in the house and figure out how I have to block you, and I won't go to your channel anymore, and that's no problem. You'll have your free speech where you have it, and I'll have my free speech where I have it. You can't have it both ways. And the both of you are being funded by the same closet dweller in the Philippines. And you think that's a perfectly normal lifestyle, which of course it is for you, but not for me. Okay, then that'll be the last thing I have to say to you. Oh, he's not coming out of, I don't think, he's not in jail, number one, he's in detention. That's true. He's not in jail. He's in detention right now, today. I don't know. Maybe this afternoon he'll be in jail. But I went through the system. I'm going through the system. The system is not logical here. And based on what I see, even though there's a guide out there pontificating it could be years before he gets to see a court date, it could be years before he gets a court date. I'm not kidding about that. It's sometimes 90 days between hearings for me right now, sometimes 90 days, which is unreasonable. In America, that would be taken care of they would schedule a month in advance, a week to take care of business, and maybe 2 weeks, and it would be done. But here, it's different. So when you hear the guy with the little blogger, the little blogging channel, when you hear him talking about the hobgoblin, maybe 2 or 3 years before he gets a court date, that's true. And there's so many ways that can happen. There's so many ways. When there was a lockdown, there was no court hearings at all, nothing. So that was 2 years. So if you were in jail for something, or prison, or lockdown, or detention, you could be in detention for 2 years without even the possibility of a hearing. Now, if you are in his position, yes. Okay. I remember I have to go into the house for about 2 minutes. I'm going to go into the house. I should be gone about 2 minutes. It's important that I go into the house for 2 minutes. It's probably the most important thing that I'm going to do today at this point. Probably. If I don't go into the house right now, then I'm going to be walking around bow-legged. Bow-legged. Okay, I'm back. Well, that was very important that I did that. That was probably the most important thing I'm going to do today. Yeah, baby. So let's go through this by the numbers for Big Kevin. Number one, the only reason why you want me or anybody else on your channel is because it brings you views and YouTube income. That's okay. That's a good thing. But you want me on your channel, and you want the drama. You're a worthless blogger, Big Kevin. You're worthless. Okay, you have never accomplished anything in your life. It's been 15 years since you've worked or paid into the system. You've collected tens of thousands of dollars for things you never did with the money. But you want us to come to your channel for the drama. You let 100, 200, 300 comments a day against other people, derogatory comments, you let those on your channel. You let that happen by these work. Let me tell you something, Kevin. Half of the people that are commenting about myself and Daisy May, half of them are gay, or they hang out with gay friends, or they're closet homosexuals. Okay? That's going to come out in the near future. That's true. Those are your friends, Kevin. Those are the people that you let talk about me and Daisy May. So you do this for the drama, and that's your channel. You're allowed to do that. But I don't see my commenters on my page talking about you. But you let people talk about me. If you and if I could take you fishing, I would do that. He wants to have it both ways. He wants us to come to his channel to talk about bloggers, but if a closet homosexual is his friend, and you talk about the closet homosexual, and his friend or his friend's friends see you talking about the closet homosexual or his girlfriends, wives, concubines, flock, whatever, then they block you. But they can talk about you, but you can't talk about them. That's why he wants you there. That's why he wants the little blogger on his channel. Because every time the little blogger goes on his channel, people give him money to allow people to talk about the little blogger. That's true. The little blogger has stated that many times. That's true. He wants it both ways. He wants freedom of speech to degrade Michael Fazio and Daisy May, for his friends to degrade me, but his friends that are closet homosexuals and possibly worse, when they get degraded, even to a small fraction of how they degrade myself and Daisy May, then they block me or other people that talk about them. See, that's not freedom of speech. You have a guy out there that professes freedom of speech, but doesn't allow you to have freedom of speech. That's a duplistic mindset. So don't tell me why that you want to make nice and you want to come over here to make amends. What you are doing is, of course, kissing butt. But you could have changed the results on your channel. You could have removed his wrench. You could have put my comments back up on the page. But you didn't do that because you want the drama. Because your friends, let's get this straight. The big cabin, and he can have all the friends he wants. His closest and dearest friends in the world. It might be true. It may be possible that his closest and dearest friends are, number one, closet homosexuals. That's possible. And number two, worse. That has to do with children. And that's one of the reasons why one of them is supposed to be giving so much money to another one. Now, I won't mention names because I can't prove it. But on Big Kevin's channel, the people that are the closest friends, they may all be closet homosexuals. And that information is going to be made public in a few weeks. Not by me, but by someone else altogether. So that's the truth. Big Kevin surrounds himself with possible closet homosexuals and possible fiddlers. Let's just call them fiddlers. And he allows that to take place knowing that those possibilities exist, but it brings him income. I will have none of that on my channel. If I ever found out that one of my friends even talked to me about having a relationship with an underage child, I'd block them instantly. They'd be gone out of my life forever. But Big Kevin knows that lifestyle and mindset exists on the people on his channel. He knows that exists. He allows it to take place. He knows the possibility of the man who blocked me. He knows the potential, what was said about that guy. Now, I can't say that it's true, but he knows what has been said about him, and he knows for a fact everything else I said is true. I really don't want you on my channel. I don't want people that associate themselves with possible child molesters or closet homosexuals. I don't really want you on my channel. I'm not homophobic, but I just don't need you on my channel. I don't have those mindsets. I don't want to be part of the woke culture. I grew up in a different era. Nothing is going to change the way I think about a man being a man and a woman being a woman. There's nothing going to change that. Even though one of my favorite uncle was gay, he didn't promote it. He didn't try to force his opinion on anybody. It was cool that he was gay. But I'm not going to have it on my channel. You're not going to publicly address this woke person and that woke person, especially now that I know for a fact there are certain people that go to Big Kevin's channel that are. I know it to be true, but I can't prove it because it's not my job to do so. But somebody else is going to do that. I know for a fact there are closet homosexuals on Kevin's channel, and they degrade myself and Daisy May. That's the part that I find disturbing, that he would allow that to happen. I've kept mental track of how much money people collected for Barry Jordan. I've kept mental track of it. My mental memory of what was collected for Barry in physical dollars on the screen was very close to the $3,000 mark. Now, anything that was given off camera, PayPal, Western Union, anything like that I can't say. So if someone collected the money, I don't know also how much money was given to Barry, because you can't trust Barry. Barry is not a trustable individual. Just not, he's not trustworthy. So it could be possible that the money was given to him. It could be possible that the money was spent for what it was destined to be spent for. I don't see these facts. So you guys coming on here and speculating that the money was used for other purposes, that's really not fair. That's not fair at all. Even though I don't know what happened to the money, it's not fair to speculate what somebody did or didn't do with the money. That's not something you can argue. You have no idea what he did with the money. None at all. You have no way of knowing what he did with the money. For all you know, he gave it to Barry or for the Barry Jordan cause. The waffle flipper is a saint. So, do I think I'll be able to pass up the lechon barbecue? That's a more important question. I've already given that a lot of thought. I only live 100 feet away from the lechon. What I'm going to do is I have saran wrap in plastic bags. I will, and typically the host of the lechon, my landlord, typically they ask me to carve the first piece of the lechon. So when it comes off the spit, they put it on the platter in the house and they ask me to be the first person to carve. So typically I get the first dibs on the meat. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, if I'm still on At that point, it would be 13 days. If I'm still on a water fast for those 13 days, I will just take 2 plates of everything home, put it in one of my Tupperware containers, and put it in the refrigerator. Yes, I could. I would have the willpower to say no, I won't eat, but I will take 2 plates home. And I'm entitled to that because everybody at the party takes two plates during the course of the party, and then at the end of the night, everybody gets a doggy bag as well. My landlord is a very, very, very giving person. She's always been like that. She's probably one of the most giving people in the neighborhood. Nanai is my landlord. So, yes, I will be able to withstand that. So, let's see. So, Ricky said he spent all the money raised for Frisbee. That's possible. It's possible. The lawyer, if there was an immigration lawyer, that's 1,000. Let's say there was 3,000. Let's say. So let's just say there was an immigration lawyer. That's 1,000. Now let's say the immigration lawyer had to go back and forth to Manila twice. That's at least $400 each day. So that's $1,800 gone. Now we know he's been giving Barry about $100 a week, and Barry's been in there for 9 weeks. No, he's been in there for 12 weeks. 1,200 and 1,800 is 3,000. That money could logistically, logically have been spent for exactly what he says it was spent on. I'm not saying it was, but I'm saying that Barry said he had a lawyer, so the lawyer had to cost 1,000. Barry's been in there for 12 weeks at $100 a week. 1,200 and 1,000 is 2,200. And if the lawyer went to Manila twice from Cebu, that's 800. That's 3,000. The money's gone. Legitimately, the money is gone. And I personally hope that Barry stays in lockup, detention, or jail for a couple of years because he thought it was funny when I was attacked. So the same man who I'm saying legitimately spent the money is the same man that Barry is depending on for his well-being. Okay, so we get back to LOL. Dennis says the waffle flipper is a saint. Dennis has a great sense of humor. Thanks, Dennis, for the the waffle flipper is a saint. Guarido Tagra. Well, 13 days. There was a supposed blessing one unlocks on the 24th day. You get what you desire, to be careful. Oh, that's all superstition stuff. So I don't know. If I go the 13 days, I've gone 10 days. I feel good. I feel energetic right now. I feel up to bringing all that wood over to my landlord's house. I got to make a few phone calls. I feel like doing that. It's not like I'm tired or I have an energy drain. So I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for stopping by. And I don't know who you are. And you people, and one more thing. What do people give Kevin money for? They give Kevin money so they can go to his channel to see other people ridicule and mock and belittle and berate other people. That's the show that Kevin provides. He's a very low level. Look, let me just boil it down. Let me boil it down. If If it was the if it was the old days and Kevin had that kind of a mindset, there would be people offering to take him fishing on a regular basis. And I would say to Kevin, don't go fishing with those guys. And with that, I'll leave you with adieu, which is French for goodbye. And of course, amping permi, which means take care always. And nobody's given me super chat to berate other people, because who am I berating? I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not berating anybody. I'm telling you for a fact that in a few weeks, that people that are now in the closet are going to be exposed for being in the closet. I'm telling you that's fact. Okay? There is an entire secret community of friends in the Philippines community that all hang out on Big Kevin's channel, that are all in the closet. And worse, take my word for it, it's coming out. I have permission to say that much. So you people, you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. With that, I'll let you think about that. And of course, I'm Ping Permi from the Philippines, baby, which means take care always. That's right. Bye-bye for now.